We got our Brewzilla here, we got it all rinsed off and cleaned out, got everything from the packaging taken care of, and we're ready to go ahead and get started with our brew day. So we got this table, we got it set up on the table here, so we're gonna go ahead and go through the Brewzilla screen here. So we'll go ahead and power it on. And this is what it looks like when it turns on. It just pops up with some, your temperatures, and you can have your timer and everything like that. So you can see that if you hold down this temperature button, you can change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. We're going to operate in Fahrenheit because we know how to do that, and I'm not smart enough to understand Celsius. But if you go to auto, you can actually have it, you can program how you want to do this, right? So you can set a timer for how long you want it to mash, how long you want it to boil, and everything like that ahead of time. So I'm going to put it back onto manual so we can go ahead and shift some of these temperatures and everything like that. So if you want to press the temperature button, allows you to adjust what your set point temperature is here. So we're going to go ahead, because we're going to be brewing a Pilsner today, we're going to go ahead and steep the grain at about 150 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and just hold this down until we get it up there. So I'm going to put it at 152. That way, if there's any fluctuations, it doesn't exceed 152 or get too far below 150. So I'm going to hit that. Boom. All right. Now what you can do is you can hit the start button. It gets going. If you want to come check it out, we'll turn our burners on. They will light up when they're actively working, and they'll be heating up our water. And then it will stop heating once it gets to 150. We'll check on it. It takes about 25 minutes or so. Get your water all the way up to your strike temperature for whatever you want to brew. Okay, so we got the water all heated up here. We're at 152. That's our strike temperature for our beer that we're making today, this Pilsner. So we're going to go ahead and use this Brewzilla. All right. Went ahead, took our grain pot right here. We nestled it nicely on our balance blocks right there. They're going to go ahead and hold up this back. And we want to take our lid here, this will stop our grain from falling through. We're going to go ahead and place that on there real quick. That just blocks any of our grain from falling through. I'm going to go ahead. I'm using about 12 pounds of grain. I believe we have some German crystal malt and some dark German malt. 4 ounces of both of those and 11.2 ounces of just German 2-row that we're using to make this Pilsner here. Just a very generic Pilsner recipe. We can go ahead and we're going to toss this on the top here. And you get a bunch of that out there. And boom. Okay, you can see, now that everything's cleared up, got a bunch of grain in there. I'm going to move it around with my hand. Take this off real quick. Pop that up there just to make sure it's nice and clean. And then take our lid here, right? So this also comes with our Brewzilla. Just going to go ahead, place it on the top, set it there. Put our lid on, right? And now we're ready to strike this. So I'm going to grab it, hook it in with our lid here, lift it up off of our things, and then twist it, 45 or so degrees, and then slowly sink it into the water here, right? It'll slowly drop. You don't want to push it down too fast and cause that displacement or cause the water to come out of the top. But what you can do, slowly push that down. But we can also use our hose here and our pump. Now we're going to suck a little bit of that water through the bottom and start pressing it through to the top, and you can kind of see how that's sinking a little bit. You can wet that grain just a little bit, hit that top there, let it settle down. All right, that looks like it's about as far as we're going to get it. I'm going to turn that off really quick. All right, and we're going to let this steep for an hour to an hour and a half-ish and get all that sugar out. So between now and then, we're going to go ahead, put our lid back on, latch it up. I'm going to do opposites because if you don't, sometimes the lid can slide off a little bit, but pop it on there. We're going to set our tube back in there, turn our pump back on, and run it through. I like to take a few minutes here and make sure that as we do this, the water isn't building up on the top. And if it does, you have this valve over here that you can slowly turn. You can slowly turn to let less water out or more water out. Right now it doesn't seem to be clogged. Usually that situation comes up with some specialty grains, or if you're you're putting any flours or any kind of additional adjuncts into your beer, it can cause there to be a few problems with that. Not problems, but just like filtration issues through the mash, that the water on the top, the pump will suck out more water than can get to it through the beer. So you just want to make sure you look at that, and there's no chance of it spilling over. There's holes on either sides of that grain bed. So if it fills up to that point, it'll just leak out through those holes in the side back into your main vessel here. So no big deal. It looks like we're pretty good. I am going to slow that down just a little bit now that we're working. But you do want to make sure that pump runs the whole time. You don't want to scorch anything or burn anything in the beer, come up with any off flavors. So as long as that pump keeps running, that water keeps moving, that beer's going to taste nice and clean. Very good. And the water down here, the Brewzilla keeps that temperature set at 152. We're going to keep this beer at 152 until we're done mashing in about an hour, hour and 15 or so when we're done. But the Brewzilla takes care of all of that yourself. You don't have to come in, check on it or anything like that. It just does it all for you. Picking up where we left off with the Pilsner here, we're going to go ahead and shut our pumps off. We have that water circulating. We're going to go ahead and turn that off for now. So we're going to start over here. We're going to turn this, we're going to close the valve right here so nothing happens. And we're going to go ahead and turn that pump off. Right? I'm going to go ahead, just let this drain through here. Nothing's coming out anymore. We'll go ahead and lean that into the bucket over there. Cool. So now, we're going to go ahead and open up our lid. Take our top off. Remember, we don't want to grab that glass super hot. All right, we're going to come over here. We're going to place that off to the side. All right, so now we have this nice grain bed here. It's been steeping for 75 minutes, almost an hour and a half. We're going to go ahead and pull it out, and we're going to let it drip through. So we're going to put our hooks into our system here. And again, we're just going to lift up, rotate 45 degrees, get those legs on those hooks, and let it drain through. Right? So all that's happening now is that water is going to come out of the grain, drop into that fermenter there, and push it through. So once that goes through, I'm going to dump some water in there. So we have hot water prepped over here to sparge with. Oh, that's very hot. So once we hear that start slowing down, we're going to dump some water in there until it gets up to where we want it to be for the boil. We're going to do a pretty quick boil here, so we'll get back to you when that's ready to go. Alrighty, so we're back here. We got our grain. It's gone ahead and drained all the way out through, so we're going to go ahead and sparge the grain. That's just adding hot water to this bed of grain to make sure that we get all of the sugars out and into our boil. So we're going to go ahead and take the top off of our grain bed here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that lid off, right? That lid. I'm going to go ahead and expose all that nice grain that we have in there. Set that off to the side, and we can clean that whenever we want. I'm going to put our lid back on so that way we're not just adding water to nothing. I'm going to go ahead. We have pre-boiled a little bit of water here. Go ahead and set that aside. Ooh! Gone ahead and smoked up my glasses a little bit. Right? And the big plan here, right, is to use, if you see over here, we have some markings that give us our volume for our total liquids. And that's visible on the inside. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add water until we're about 6 gallons. We're going to look inside, cross-reference that with the outside, but as long as you're catching all those legs, you can go ahead and move that grain as much as you want to. So I'm going to go ahead, take our hot water here, add a little bit to the grain bed. Just like that. It's going to push our grain out of the way. And all we want to do is take those sugars that are in there and we want to loosen them up and push them all the way through. We're going to do a bit at first, let it drain through. You can hear it when it stops draining or it starts to get slow. We're going to check that volume again and go from there. But we want to make sure we get all that sugar out of the grains and go from there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep sparging here. Take some of our already preheated water, go ahead and dump it in there again. So this is all of our grain bed again. We just want to make sure that we pop it in there in such a way that we can pass water over all of the grain, right? Pass water over all of the grain and get those sugars out, let it drain through the bottom. You can go ahead and get a nice even distribution of sugars down there and collect all of the stuff that we went ahead and boiled. So we went ahead and finished our sparge here. I'm going to go ahead and take our grains off and we'll go ahead and get this guy boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and move this guy over into this bucket. And all these grains in here you can use for any number of things. You can go ahead, you can use them for, cookies. You can make dog treats out of them, cattle feed, chicken feed, whatever you want to do. You can throw them away. I don't know, however you want to handle it. But here we have an entire, I think, about a little over 6 gallons worth of water and mash. It's essentially beer tea that we have. We're going to go ahead and boil this, add hops, and from there we'll have finished beer when we're done. So I'm going to go ahead, put this back on the table, heat it up, boil it, and then we'll get back with you when we have the hops. So we went ahead and moved the brew table back up, or the Brewzilla back up to the table. We're going to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. So we're going to go ahead and get our pump running again. That's going to circulate all of our water through. We're going to come down here. We're going to make sure that our 1000 and our 500 watt burners are on. That's going to heat everything up as fast as possible. You can see here we have our temperature. We're at a 150 right now. It's set to 152. We're going to go ahead and hit that button. We're going to pause it. Ooh. When it starts blinking like that, you can change the temperature. We're going to go ahead and turn it all the way up. You can hold it down. We're going to turn it all the way up, and it'll say HH when it's at the highest heat that you can go to. We're going to hit temp again, hit start. It's going to essentially just boil all of that water. Once it gets up to a boil, we'll go ahead and add our hops, and we'll go from there. So you heated our water up to a nice boil here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn the pump off down here. We're going to go ahead and close that valve. If you want to, you can go ahead, leave that valve open. You can kind of see the liquid run through that back down. Go ahead, pop that over here real quick. Let it drain through. It's a very hot lid, so you want to make sure that you grab it by the holders there. All right, and so here we are. We're going to grab our hops. We're going to go ahead and we're going to throw 4 ounces of saws in there. We're going to do a quick 15-minute boil. So we're going to double up on the hops right away, boil it for about 15 minutes so we still get all those alpha acids in there. But we don't have to wait a whole hour to do it. So we're going to go ahead very slowly though, because sometimes when you release these pelletized hops, they can kind of boil up really fast. So we want to just make sure that we just go quite slow here. And forgive me if my glasses fog up. But we're going to do that, and you can go ahead and look in there right now. You can see we've got nice green hops right there. We're going to go ahead, put our tubing back in here, turn our pump on right down here, hit our go. It's going to run through, and we're going to run this through. And again, we've left our heater on the whole way through. We're going to go ahead and run this pump through. That way the hops don't burn. Everything stays moving. All the water, nothing boils. And you can see how quick that happened right there. Nothing burns, nothing stays stagnant for very long at all. And we'll go ahead and boil this for about 15 minutes. And then we'll go ahead and throw the wort chiller in. So our boil is done. Our hops are in there. We're good to go. We're going to go ahead and cool the beer down. We're going to throw the wort chiller in there. So the way you do that, we're going to connect it to a cold water inlet. And then it's going to spit out hot water afterward, right? So we're going to go ahead, while it's still boiling, we're going to go ahead, throw the wort chiller in there. Right, it's very hot, very hot. Go ahead and put it in there. Slightly before it's done boiling, we'll throw it in there. And that way you can see it going. Then we're going to turn our cold water on, just like that. And you can see right here, cold water runs in, hot water runs out, and it's just taking the water from that hot wort and spitting it out over here. And that water, really hot, right? And that's just taking all the water out of that, or all of the heat out of that wort that we just made. So we can cool it down to a temperature in which we can pitch the yeast in. The yeast can thrive, make beer out of it. So we went ahead, we got our wort chiller in the beer here. As it cools down, for the Brewzilla, we're going to go ahead and turn this pump on. We're going to let the water cycle as it cools, right? So that way, keeping that water moving, keeping the maximum amount of surface area on these cold coils here. It'll drop our temperature really fast. You can already see that we're down 129 over 152. So that's our set temperature is 152. We've got our burners off here, and we'll cool down. So any second now, you can already see that it's dropped down 2 degrees to 127. And so we'll just wait until that gets to pitching temperatures, which is right around, 70-ish degrees. And we'll go ahead and throw the yeast into we'll pump it out of this into a carboy. and then we'll throw the yeast in, and we'll be good to go. Alrighty, so we went ahead, put our wort chiller in our beer. We ran our water through it. We got our wort cooled down to the temperature that we need to pitch our yeast. So we're going to go ahead, take our wort chiller out, and we're going to go ahead and move our Brewzilla back over to the table and finish our beer. So we're going to go ahead, slowly just take this guy out, move our pump tube out of the way, take this guy, put him back into our sink, and we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead, we cooled our wort down, we're going to go ahead and pump it out of here into our fermenter, pitch our yeast, and we'll be ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead, throw our tube in here, and turn our pump on.
Sanitized vessel.
Yep, we sanitized this brew vessel right here. It sets to about 5 gallons, and we got our Bohemian, Mangrove Jacks, Bohemian lager yeast. And we're just going to go ahead, suck it through here. And right, we have our false bottom at the bottom. It should filter out the vast majority of our solids in our beer. Right here in the fermenter, we're going to suck it through this pump, here through the end. And since it's already cool, we don't have to worry about cooling it down anymore. And we're going to go ahead and pitch our yeast. We're going to use this Mangrove Jacks Bohemian lager yeast. We're going to use 2 packs here. Go ahead and speed up that fermentation just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and both of these. Crack them open. And right, you don't want to touch too much, but you want to open it up just enough that you get all that stuff out of there.
You don't say the prayer?
What is the prayer?
You don't know the prayer?
I do not know the prayer.
I just never do.
God loves us and God loves beer. Let's go ahead and throw this in there. And so go ahead and throw it in. I toss it all in. And then I usually like to make sure that everything's been touched by a little bit of liquid. So I will just go ahead and do that just for good measure. Make sure nothing's stuck, nothing's scary, nothing's ready to go. But that beer is going to wake that yeast up. It's going to get started and you'll be good to go in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Makes sense.
Boom. Look at that guy.
Your wife said you're a lesbian.